Currently, Indiana has no cannabis policy. And I don't mean that Indiana's policy is bad. I mean that Indiana literally has no plan, no commission, no regulatory framework, no agency, nothing. So if the federal government rescheduled cannabis tomorrow, which the Trump administration has already set in motion with an executive order directing the DEA to move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, Indiana would be scrambling to build a regulatory agency. Indiana would be scrambling to build a regulatory agency from scratch, while Michigan and Illinois have had a running start, have had programs that have been running for years. So that's not fiscal conservatism, that's administrative that's administrative negligence, in my opinion. And so I have a 4-tier legislative package with this. And I apologize, I'm just a policy person. You got to get kind of deep in the weeds sometimes with this. But tier 1, if we want to call it that, would be the regulatory framework. So if this creates an Indiana Cannabis Commission, 7 members confirmed by the Senate with a built-in federal trigger. So the moment the DEA finalizes rescheduling, the commission is authorized to begin issuing licenses. No additional act of the General Assembly is needed. So to be clear, this doesn't legalize anything. Think of it like how Indiana built the Gaming Commission. Before expanding gambling, they had a gaming commission. They want to be ready before the moment arrives. So creeping up here to tier 2 would be decriminalization. 30 grams or less becomes a civil infraction. $100 fine, no arrest, no criminal record. Again, it does not legalize cannabis. It just stops putting people in jail for simple possession or a personal use amount. Medical cannabis, qualifying conditions would include cancer, PTSD, TBI, epilepsy, chronic pain, terminal illness. And, here's the provision I think I'm most proud of. If a VA provider, a Veterans Affairs provider, refers a veteran for cannabis treatment, that letter would automatically an automatic qualification and no separate physician certification would be needed. So no hoops. If the VA says you need it, Indiana says you can have it. Indiana has over 400,000 veterans. Many came home from Iraq, Afghanistan with PTSD and chronic pain, and the VA maybe has prescribed them opioids. And some have found that cannabis works better without the addiction risk. And in Indiana, using it means committing a Class B misdemeanor every single day. So someone who served this country, came home with PTSD, found something that helps them sleep, or found something that works better without the addiction risk, should be able to use that without having the threat of prosecution or being tied up in a legal process with it. I don't think that this is a liberal position. I think that that's a human one. I think we could all agree on that. And then lastly would be full adult use, full recreational, with a 15% excise tax. A revenue formula would be 35% goes to property tax relief, 25% to local government, 20% to K-12 education, 10% to veterans mental health, 10% to drug treatment. And Indiana's own Legislative Services Agency projected that this generates between 46 and 92 million annually. So on a budget year or a budget cycle, that's $200 million. Keeping track here. In 2025, Indiana faced a $2 billion budget shortfall, raised taxes on Hoosiers while leaving that money on the table. And it's not disappearing. It's going to Michigan, it's going to Illinois, Ohio. Every dollar spent at a dispensary across the state line is, a dollar Indiana's property taxpayers never see. So I'd be filing all 4 of these my first session. I'd also have them all in one omnibus bill. It's kind of a strategy we use, because the more stuff that's in a bill, the more opportunities Republicans give you to not hear your bills. So We break all these up into smaller ones. If they don't want to go full recreational, which I understand, because it'd be a logistical nightmare if we did, because we don't have any regulatory framework in place right now. So, if the only thing I can get through a Republican supermajority this session is a regulatory framework bill that we filed in the past, and I helped a draft years ago, that's not a failure. That's how you build policy. I would consider that a huge win. Any progress made on this subject in Indiana is huge.